You do live dangerously. You don't believe in superstition. You're at a game where there's a no-hitter, and you mentioned that to a fellow colleague. Wow.
Well, Milo would never do that. Milo said there are many ways to talk about a no-hitter in progress without using the word. He can say, well, the Astros have no runs, no hits, and no errors after 3 innings, and the Braves have 4 runs, 2 hits, and 1 error. But, you know, there are so many ways to get around it. Or you could say, so-and-so hasn't given up a hit yet, or without using the word no-hitter. He didn't believe in it, and Red Barber didn't either.
Well, you and Milo are going to be teaming up and be at Baseball's Valhalla. When will that happen?
Yes, August 4th. We're going to be signing both books. The 2 books being Baseball Gold, of course, which Milo wrote the preface. And also many of his pictures are in the media chapter in that book. There's some really beautiful older pictures. And also Milo's book, Making Airwaves, 60-plus years at Milo's microphone. So we'll be signing both books, and Milo's going to talk also.
Well, when you give talks on books that you've written, what are typically let's say, the top 3 or 4 questions that fans will be posing to you about whether it be Designated Hebrew or Milo Hamilton's work? What seems to be the topics that people want to delve into?
Well, unfortunately today it's all steroids. Everybody's asking how much cheating is going on in baseball. What do you think about the Hall of Fame for Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and of course Barry Bonds? And in fact, I'm now working on a story for the World Series program about the 1957 Milwaukee Braves. This is their 50th anniversary, and I've been a Braves fan for all this time. And I want to do an interview with Hank Aaron, and so I tried to talk to the Braves PR guy about setting it up. He said, good luck. I said, what do you mean good luck? I've done a book on Aaron. I know Aaron. He said, Aaron does not want to do interviews. The problem is everybody's asking him about Barry Bonds because Aaron's record is in jeopardy of falling fairly quickly, actually, possibly before the All-Star break. And everybody's questioning him on that. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the 1957 Braves and Lou Burdette and 24 consecutive scoreless innings in the World Series. Now, that'll never happen today.
Well, let's go to that pitching rotation, because there are Milwaukee Braves fans out there here in White Plains. Can you give us relate a few factoids or?
Oh, sure. Well, and getting back to that 57 World Series, Burdette pitched that last game, which was a shutout, on 2 days rest. He actually pitched 2 shutouts in that World Series and 3 complete game victories. Now, Randy Johnson won 3 games in the 2001 World Series. They weren't all complete game victories. The last time that happened goes all the way back to 1968 with Mickey Lolich.
Wow. How do you feel about pitch counts?
It's interesting. Good question. In fact, in the book, it mentions that Nolan Ryan in 1974 pitched a game in which he threw 259 pitches. And obviously didn't hurt his career. He pitched till he was 47 years old. So I think it's up to the individual pitcher, and managers and pitching coaches really should make it an individual thing and not just uniformly cut guys off.
With regards to fantasy baseball, do you participate in any particular leagues? What's your take on that?
No, my fantasy is just hoping the Braves will win.
Can teams be cursed?
Oh, the Cubs are a really good example. Really good example. In fact, Bob Ibach is my agent and longtime friend, former Cubs PR guy. In the 2003 Cubs-Marlins World Series, and by the way, the Steve Bartman box score is in this book.
Okay.
And it even says the Steve Bartman game and has a complete explanation of what happened. He was the fan who knocked that ball away from Moises Alou. Anyway, so Bob, when the Cubs were winning 3-1 in that National League Championship Series, they needed 1 more win to go to the World Series. And 2 of the games, the last 2 games, are going to be at Wrigley Field with Wood and Pryor, and those were the days they were healthy pitching. So Bob said, well, the Cubs are going to wrap it up. And I said, you know what, Bob, the Marlins are going to win the next 3 games and go to the World Series. He said, oh, no way, that's not possible. Well, it happened. And so the day after that happened, I called him up at his cell phone early in the morning. And you know about the goat curse of Wrigley Field. Yep. Yep. And I just went, bah, and I hung up.
Brooks Robinson, what was it like working with that star?
You couldn't ask for a nicer guy to work with. And I've also done some work with Nolan Ryan and others. But Brooks was just phenomenal. Brooks has a reputation for being a real gentleman when he played, when he broadcast, and now in retirement as a Hall of Famer. He's a real ambassador for baseball. He's the president of the Baseball Players Alumni Association, as I'm sure you know. And he's just a honey. He's a great guy. He's super. And he's not mad at me for beating him in ping pong on the QE2 during a gale.
table tennis, Daniel SCHLOSSBERG, table tennis expert.
Oh, that ball took some weird bounces.
Reggie Jackson makes the book. You want to share with the viewers what's there in the way of a factoid or anything else that they should take out?
There are a number of things about Reggie Jackson in the book, including the box score of the famous 3-home run game in the World Series, 1977. And he actually did it on 3 swings, which is just phenomenal. And it was the last game of the World Series. I mean, that was the end. What a climactic ending to the World Series. And of course, Babe Ruth had 3 home runs in the World Series game. He did it twice. You only got to do it twice. But Reggie also, there's a baseball card. Topps company was nice enough to let me reprint baseball cards. And I found a baseball card of Reggie Jackson in an Oriole hat, Oriole jersey, but it says Yankees on the card. It's kind of an odd card, but it's printed in the book.
That's amazing. Amazing. So this is the type of thing that people should just pick up, put down, pick up, put down, keep.
That's the idea. They can keep it in their bathroom and read it backwards.
The Bill Goff images are fantastic. Is there a particular couple that you would tell viewers to pick up and open up to?
Well, I like his ballpark shots. I mean, he's got his artists do many ballpark, landscape shots. They're very, very good. And I want to give the website. It's goodsportsart.com, and people can see the work on that website. And Bill does beautiful calendars called Hallowed Ground every year. Yeah. They're absolutely sensational. I recommend them. And I've given them as Christmas Hanukkah gifts, and I always get rave reviews for that kind of gift.
Alvin Dark actually makes your baseball goal.
Oh, yes. As a manager, not as a player. But as a manager, in 1962, he said to Gaylord Perry, who was then a rookie pitcher, "You're such a bad hitter that the day you hit a home run will be the day man walks on the moon." And of course, on July 20th, 1969, not only did Gaylord Perry hit the first home run of his career, he later hit 7 more, but the Perry brothers, he and his brother Jim, won 3 games.
Wow.
So Al knew something.
Yeah. Just going back to this list, I'm just curious. I just want to delve. We mentioned Ruth, golf, hockey, Al Michaels.
Oh, Al Michaels, broadcaster for the Reds, later did the ABC Game of the Week when they had baseball. Al Michaels used to pick the women for the dating game. Why did he leave that job to go into baseball? I wouldn't have.
How did you discover that? I mean,
I don't even remember where that came from, but it's a true fact.
Oh, my goodness, my goodness. Oh, Hoboken and Hoboken and
Alexander Cartwright, the real father of baseball, as is acknowledged in the Baseball Hall of Fame, because the Abner Doubleday thing is totally hoax. But in the first game in 1846 in Hoboken, he was the umpire. He fined a player for swearing. The fine was 6 cents. Can you imagine that today? But you're talking about money. Forbes Field, when it opened in 1909, the total construction cost of that Pittsburgh ballpark was $1 million. Wow. It's a drop in the bucket. You wouldn't even buy a utility infielder for that today.
Speaking of Cartwright, vintage baseball, have you had a chance to take a look at 19th century baseball? It seems to be having an upswing or enthusiasm by people.
It does. In fact, Jim Bouton recently spoke to the Sabre Group at the Yogi Berra Museum, which is one of my favorite places, a little Hall of Fame. It's in Little Falls, New Jersey. And when Jim Bouton was there, he mentioned that there are 2 competing vintage baseball groups. One is the Vintage Baseball Association, and the other is the Vintage Baseball Federation. And if I'm not mistaken, his group is the Federation group. At any rate, he said he's been the target of vicious email because the other group claims his group isn't precisely following the historical rules from 1860 or whatever it is. And Jim says, the idea of vintage baseball is to have a good time and have fun and wear the old uniforms. And these guys are vicious. He calls the other side the Talibat.